as we grew, budgeting became such a manual process and tedious. There were 10 different versions of the budget, and you couldn't figure out the latest version as people weren't labeling them properly. This is what I see and hear in hundreds of companies. This is Daniel from Fuzzy Events. They're a large events company running music festivals throughout Australia. I'm sure some of you can reference and have that pain in your organization. Thanks for having me at UserGroups today. It's good to be invited along here by KC and by MYOB. My name is David Chambers and I'm a Senior Solutions Consultant at Phocas. I've worked about 20 odd years within business software, starting off with small business accounting, moving into some ERP specific work. And then for the last 13 years, I've worked with Phocas, and my role at Phocas has been across education, implementation, and now in a pre-sales consulting role, really working with our customers and seeing the problems that they have in their organizations and how we can solve those problems and enable that decision-making process through data. And that's what I really love doing on a day-to-day basis. For those of you who don't know who Phocas are, this is us at a glance. Worldwide, 8 locations across the globe there, 3,000 odd customers, 40,000 users, 23 years of experience with integrations built into multiple different systems. There are over 200, particularly MYOB Exo and MYOB Advanced are key markets for us in the Australia Pacific region there. What are we going to talk about today? Finance in focus, robust management and strategic decision making is the kind of name of this keynote. And it's a little bit selfish in the way that I'm going to talk about my experiences and what I see in business. And we're going to look at some insights around that. Also, some other parties within the marketplace around Deloitte and some others that are what they're saying about how to aid decision making and what roadblocks there are in that decision making process. And then we're going to wrap that up into the problems, literally the questions, the statements that I hear every single day, and grouping them together into specific areas so everyone can kind of see the landscape of the problems that you guys are probably having, what I see, and then we're going to look at what a solution looks like at the end of the day there. So let's start with what I've seen. This is particularly over my last kind of 13 odd years at Phocas. The changing role of a CFO and finance team member. The key areas here are strategic decision-making, data-driven strategic partner, data-driven decision-making, technology integration, and enable communication and collaboration. They're the 4 main areas which I've seen have changed over the last kind of 10 or so years. And what I mean by a strategic partner, gone are the days of a CFO just producing a P&L or a balance sheet, doing a little bit of budgeting in Excel, exporting some data out for someone in the organization for them to make a decision. They see themselves and they're putting themselves across the whole organization, whether that be being at every board meeting, whether that be talking to the sales director and the sales team members every day to make sure that processes are met, but also when decisions need to be made in an organization, they need to be there to be part of that decision-making process. Whether it's an acquisition of a new organization, whether it's a change in the way that the business goes to market, they're there and they're partnering to make sure that they're supporting the business every single day rather than just producing month-end results and a little bit of AP and AR. And really the key around that is making sure that there's data available for the business to have that effective decision-making process there. So they're not just interested in the ERP system. That's their baby, and that's typically what they're really monitoring on a regular basis. But they're also ensuring that there's other data sets available and joined together within an organization so people can make real decisions. It could be data from an ERP system. It could be data from a CRM system. It could be third-party data that they're receiving back from customers or suppliers that they want to bring together to make sure decisions within the organization can be made and can be met really quickly and easily. And that leads into the technology integration. Again, when they're making decisions in an organization about what CRM system to work with, how are we going to deal with some data from our third-party logistics provider there. They're at the forefront of that conversation. They're making sure that they're talking to their various different stakeholders, making sure the data integrates with their ERP system, making sure it integrates with their reporting system effectively. Because that then helps with the final point that I want to make there is enabling the communication and collaboration. They want to make sure that everyone can talk to each other all the way from the board, has the same message all the way down to the salespeople, and the input and the collaboration across departments as well is simple and easy. So sales can talk to marketing well, marketing can talk to purchasing, so everyone's on the same page, that they can make sure that they're going to make effective decisions at the right time for the benefit of the organization. What about the actual market itself? This is a report here that was put together by Deloitte, and they put the questions out to their members there in their data and insights and decision making survey that they ran at the start of 2003. What are the greatest challenges to driving data to insights? What's holding you back making decision making, in other words? And these are the top 6 responses: inadequate technology and systems, immature capabilities, lack of talent, lack of time to gather, analyze, generate insights. I'm sure we've all been there. You've looked at a number in your business and you go, oh, it'd be really good if I could find out more about that. But other things just take priority all the time. And that's what people are seeing. And so you need to have in place something that speeds up that generation of that insight, speeds up the analysis of the data, gives it to the right people so that they can access the data. And that's what the problems that they've found in this Deloitte survey. Similarly, on the other side of that, the positive note, what have people actually done? What have CFOs done to improve that decision-making process, to improve insights into the organization? And here they are, the top 5. Invest in new systems, make sure you have the people that can manage those systems and work through those systems. I really like to think of that as is your staff members in the organization should be able to use any tool that they're given. It shouldn't be locked away in a specific finance function or a specific IT function there, because you want to streamline that data. You want to make sure that it gets out to everyone there that needs it. You want to improve your financial planning and analytics process there. Similarly, again, from Deloitte and also McKinsey and AFP here, who can relate to this? 50% of the time, people in finance are building and reworking reports, but 61% of people don't care about them. It's not relevant to their day-to-day business. So if finance is sitting there every Monday morning, updating reports, getting them out because everything needs to be done by 10 o'clock in the morning, but most of the time no one cares about it. It's not actually relevant to their day-to-day running of the business. Why bother? And then 40% of the time, or 40% of people really identify that there's inadequate systems and tools that are causing some of those problems within the organization around the data, reportability of information, et cetera, et cetera. So you can kind of see what the market is saying. And I guess to be selfish now is like, what do I actually hear? Like, what am I speaking to prospects and customers and people in the industry on a day-to-day basis? How does that manifest itself into the real world? And this is how it does. The problems I hear every day. My IT team is forever fielding new report requests from the business. IT teams typically don't want to do that. Everyone is working from different numbers. If everyone's exporting a slightly different version of the report into Excel and manipulating themselves, how can everyone be on the same page there? Our budget process relies on 1 or 2 people in the finance team. I accidentally sent the wrong spreadsheet to the team. Little example I have around that one is I had a customer that actually sent an Excel spreadsheet, and in that Excel spreadsheet, it was a budget for the next 12 months. I actually had a tab in that spreadsheet that was the scenario of closing down one of their branches, and that went out to people who shouldn't have seen that within the organization. So security, again, is a huge issue, and having these relying on outdated or not fit for purpose technology to manage your data and your decision making is a real issue in a lot of businesses there. So all these kind of quotes kind of get brought together into these four main challenge areas that I see. It's the actual data itself. How do we get that data together? It's the analysis and the reporting of that data. How do I get the things I need? How do I get the data to make a decision and analyze that on a daily basis? It's the planning and strategy process there. So that's the budgeting and forecasting. What's the next 12 months look like? What's our 5-year plan look like? And how do I actually kind of put that together within Phocas? And then the operational and process is really the nuts and bolts. How am I kind of working with my suppliers on a day-to-day basis using my data, and what problems do I have around that? And so these are the kind of high-level areas that we work through there. For data, I don't know how many times I've been sent a spreadsheet that's 50 tabs long. It's unstructured, it's messy, it's walls of numbers that take hours to pick apart when I'm trying to work through with a customer how to solve their problem, how to improve their process within an organization there. The data might be incomplete as well. I've got a sales report, but then it's like, well, why didn't I sell that product there this month? I need to go and look at my stock levels, which are on another report. Oh, it's because I didn't have stock in my business there. You can't answer all the questions that you need if everything's slow, it's bulky, it's incomplete, etc. there. So it's very difficult to kind of get that nice box of data to present it out to everyone. So when the reporting analysis comes around, manual reports, they're static. You've exported it once, it doesn't update for the new sales that came in yesterday. It's difficult to compare. I can't look at this month versus last month quickly. I need to re-export data out. I need to join it together with ugly VLOOKUPs in Excel. Then the teams are starting to get bogged down as well. It's like every day they're churning through spreadsheets. They're drilling through data themselves. They're digging holes just to try and get the data that they need. It really causes issues, especially when you're consulting amongst team members there. Finance want to talk to sales and sales want to talk to purchasing, but no one's on the same page because everyone's reporting and analyzing the data in a slightly different way. So there's no way to get timely insights or clear insights into the organization there. Planning and strategy, budgeting and forecasting, and operational processes next here. And again, this leads back to what everyone typically relies on at the beginning, which is Excel spreadsheets. They're building these gigantic models in an Excel spreadsheet. We go back to the security issue around sharing the incorrect spreadsheet earlier. Another customer sent me over a spreadsheet that was 200 meg in size. It took forever to even open that spreadsheet, change something in a formula. The whole thing had to update again. It took forever. So there's risk associated with that because only 1 or 2 people in the organization knew how to run that spreadsheet. Therefore, finance were the expert, but the sales experts had no drill down or no ability to impact that spreadsheet. Someone had to consolidate data together. It made it risky because as soon as someone leaves the business, that whole process falls apart. I don't know how many times I hear of no progress or burnout throughout a budgeting and forecasting process. They're budgeting for months and it's constant different versions of a spreadsheet going backwards and forwards. We go back to the quote at the start. No one knew which was the right version of the budget because there were so many different versions of that. And from a day-to-day running of that, once it's actually set up and using my forecasting or my reporting process, sometimes it can be very difficult to manage from moving forward or for an end user to actually access that data there. Again, there's lack of clarity. The updates aren't happening on a regular basis because someone's involved in running a report, formatting it, putting it into the right spreadsheet, etc. there. It's not strategic and it leaves money on the table, causing tense relationships. And a nice little kind of story I have, or not nice for the customer, but they were getting rebates from a supplier. They needed to provide to the supplier, hey, we bought X amount of dollars from you last month. We get 5% back from you. Because that strategic decision of my rebate was set up, it needed to be done every month. But the customer couldn't provide the data to get that decision made and say, hey, how much did we actually buy from that supplier last month there? So they weren't actually able to claim an effective amount or an accurate amount. They weren't confident in that number that they were supplying back to the supplier there. So it really left them with issues around, am I getting the right number? Therefore, there was a relationship tension between the supplier and the customer. Internally, no one knew what the right margin was that they were getting from these products. The relationship suffered because of that. And so they're the main 4 areas that I see problems with. So how do people solve that, or what do people want to solve those problems there? And this is typically what we hear. They want a purpose-built platform made for your ERP system. The direct integration with Exo is a key need for you guys on the call today. It's human-friendly tech, meaning the board can look at a dashboard and see how the business is performing. The management can build a budget. The sales team can interrogate their data to see who's the best customer that they've got over the last 12 months. So it's their data their way. It's secure. Again, we don't need to talk about sending the wrong spreadsheet out. We don't also want to talk about another customer of mine that had an insurance claim against them because they had a cyber attack because of the way that they were storing their data and managing their infrastructure wasn't up to scratch. And they want all the data in one place as well. They want to go to one portal, get their sales data, get their purchasing data, get their expenses all listed in the one location. Set it up once, it updates automatically on a regular basis. But it's not just IT and finance that can access this data. They want everyone in the business to be connected. They want someone from the sales rep to enter in a budget, what they think they're going to do for the month, and then they want their sales manager to approve that, and then they want to report on that at the board to see, did their sales team hit the budget that they set for themselves for this month? So that's what they want. And really what that is, it's financial and planning and analytics, or FP&A, you may have heard about it. And then it's business intelligence is what else it is there. And that's really looking at your sales analytics, purchasing analytics, and financial planning and analytics is around your budgeting and forecasting and your financial analysis there. And that's what we're going to look at today, this FP&A piece, because we're talking about finance decision making. And so what that's actually looking like in the real world here, let's just bring in, and I'll show you what it looks like in the Phocas world. Let's bring that in here now. And so what we can see is I've got a P&L. Now, I want my data my way, right? I look after all the branches. I'm the national sales manager, and I want to see how every single branch is performing. I want to change this data to look at that for last month. So quickly and easily, I can go into the data. I can say, hey, let's look at my previous month's results. I can select my previous month's results. I can then say, show it to me by branch. I can literally just grab my branch, drag that up the top and let it go. And you'll now see, if I want to see revenue by branch, there's my revenue by branch. I want to see how my marketing spend has gone across each of my branches. I can see that. And I can see it right down at an account level there. So we're integrating this data in, and it becomes a point and click exercise now. So that collaboration process that we were looking at there, the communication amongst the team members is super simple because everything's in the one place, and it's easy for people to slice and dice that data as they need it there. They might even say, hey, it'd be really nice if I could pull out key pieces of information, turn it into a chart and share that information out on a dashboard or something along those lines as well. And again, a tool like Phocas allows that process to actually happen there. Oops. So I can go in and I can say, hey, let's turn my gross profit number into a little chart. Click a box, turn it into a chart, put it as a value card. I've now got a nice little widget that I can share with my team members, add to a dashboard, build a monthly sales report, a monthly business report, nice and simply there. So reporting is really simple, as you can see. The next thing that we want to talk about here is what about my budgeting process? I need to build a budget. I need to project how my business is going to go over the next 12 months. So we build a budget. We take your data from the prior year and we integrate it within Phocas. I can simply go in and say, hey, show me my travel expenses in the UK, and say, hey, I'm going to add a couple of $100 or $100,000 onto my travel expenses because we're going to go places next year. So I might say, hey, that's going to be $350,000 for the next 12 months, but I'm just going to spread it evenly across the year. Super simple. And you can see that's going to push that across the year now. I might also say, hey, I don't look after travel expenses in the US. So I want to go and assign those out to someone else within the organization. So my workflow is super easy. I can go in and I can assign that out to Sally, and you'll see now Sally has the ability to go in and enter in those budget figures for her. So that collaboration process. So if I'm in finance, I can administer the tool, but I can make sure everyone else is seeing the data that they need to see. And that goes all the way down to a sales level here as well, where I can build my budget based on my region, my product group, with a little calculation that says I'm going to sell 6,000 units at $50 an item. I can then drive my budget nice and simply all the way through to my headcount. I've got David, Gary, and Steve work for me here, full salary integration, all driving my profit and loss of my business over the next 12 months. But most importantly, I also want to do a three-way forecast. I want to be able to go in and say, hey, how's my accounts receivable looking? I've built a little accounts receivable formula there to project what my AR balances would be. I can make adjustments on my balance sheet, which will then flow through into my cash flow statement, so I can see exactly what my cash position will be at the end of every period. So from a reporting perspective in terms of finance, as well as a BI tool that we haven't seen yet today, you can see a tool like Phocas really enables and speeds that process up there. And so this is what it did for Daniel. Budgeting and forecasting, it allowed us to automate and simplify the process and help us reduce mistakes. It makes their budgeting process a lot smoother. And similarly, this is Sapphire Group here. I believe these guys are on Exo. It's very user-friendly. It's easy for people to use. They don't really need to have a technical background to use it. So we're really talking about the whole organization here. In this case, it was sales team members out there that were using Phocas. So thank you today